Assalamu Alaikum everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So I just want to do a very quick kind of summary of some of the companies that have reported this week, and then at the end I'm going to do some buys because it's that time of the week where we actually purchase some stocks. I did buy some yesterday, so I'm going to do some more in today's video. And of course, a lot of these companies have reported their earnings this week. So some of the companies I'm interested in is UPS, just to see what they've reported and what it looks like. Because remember, last quarter when they reported, the company went down quite a bit because they reported and they said, of course, they in terms of revenue, in terms of everything else, it's things gonna decline a little bit. And Tesla has reported, Visa has reported, so look at that. Texas Instrument, another company that we're interested in, so that has reported this week as well. Meta has reported. We're not going to talk about it, but Meta has reported, and I think on the day was down almost to 14%, 15%, if not more. Lam Research has actually reported. We're not going to talk about it, but you can have a look at that if you're interested in that company. I think it's still overvalued, so I'm not going to look in that. Then it was Microsoft. Alphabet has reported just last night, and it's interesting to see what they've actually said. Now Alphabet is actually done really well. I think it was up 15-14% last time I checked, if not more, because they've actually reported absolutely wonderful basically quarter, as well as basically issuing dividends now. This means now majority of the big boys, so Microsoft, Apple, Tesla is probably the only one that is not going to pay any dividends, and I'm not sure if Tesla is ready for that for their list in the next 10 years anyway. But when it comes to Microsoft, they pay dividends. When it comes to Apple, when it comes to Alphabet and Meta, they've now all started paying dividends. Another company that I'm really interested in is an AstraZeneca, and that we're going to talk about towards the end of the video. And then, like I said, I'll show you some of the buys. Right, so let's get into it straight away. As you can see, we're still on that fear kind of situation. So we'll see how that goes. And if we see another bounce back on the market, generally, we might actually end up going back to that greed side of things or neutral. But right now, this is it. So this is where we are this week. As you can see, Meta reported, it was down quite a bit. Tesla reported, went up, and I will talk about Tesla at the end and why the reasons it was up. There were other companies that reported as well, so it will be interesting to see how, by the end of today and by the end of basically next week, I think about once Apple reports and all of that, we will see where we are generally in the overall market. Let's get started with the first company, and that is UPS. UPS reported and kind of basically reaffirms the fiscal year 2024 outlook. So nothing huge. They were expecting some sort of a decline, of course, in terms of revenue, and that has happened. But they beat bottom line, but the revenue top line was down. But they said exactly what was expected. Kind of reaffirm what they've said before. If they had said anything else, they probably would have gone down so much. But I think on the day when they reported, they were slightly up. So again, exactly what was expected from the company in terms of the so this is what they expected: $92 billion to $94.5 billion. The consensus is about $93 billion, and I think that's probably the reason why it's gone up a little bit. And when it comes to the adjusted operating margins, to range from basically approximately 10 to 10.6%. So nothing huge to worry about there. Now, in terms of US domestic segment, we're looking at year over year, basically decline of 5%. When it comes to international, year over year of about 6% decline, and then 5.3% decline in terms of supply chain solutions. So this was expected. This was baked into the stock already. So nothing to worry about there. Now, if we look at the earnings expectations moving forward for UPS, one of the things that you've noticed is this year, of course, that's what was reported before. Now 18% bounce back in 2025. 2026 we're looking at about 14%, and 2027 2026 we're looking at about 14%, and 2027 we're looking at about 14% again. So nothing huge basically to worry about, to be honest with you. So it's only this year. After that, their expectation is actually slightly better. Remember, this is just estimates. Anything can happen in between. And when it comes to revenue, about 2% growth this year, then about 5%, almost 6%, then about 4%, 8%. Again, if we just focus the first three, 4%, 5%, or 6% almost, and then 2% this year. Again, nothing really to worry about. I kind of knew that was the case, and we're going to continue holding on to this. I'm not going to add to it yet unless it has basically come down quite a bit. Comes down quite a bit in the next few weeks. The next one was Visa. Visa have done absolutely amazing, beat both top line, bottom line, everything. So as you can see, everything is green. They kind of basically said exactly what was expected in terms of expectations, guidelines, as well as basically what they've reported. And the service, when you look at the company, in basically these are the three segments that they report. So the service revenue side of things was almost 7% up year over year. When it comes to data processing revenue, it was up 11.5% year over year. When it comes to international transactions revenue side of it, was 8.5% year over year, which is absolutely wonderful to see. Again, this is a cash machine. They've actually basically confirmed what we were expecting. In terms of going forward, earnings side of things, and if we look at, so 13% in terms of EPS, for almost for 13% again 14% there. So not absolutely double digits. Wonderful to see that. Almost a double digits this year in terms of revenue side of it. Next year, definitely 10%, and then almost 11%. So nothing huge to worry about when it comes to Visa. Just to go back to UPS, I just want to show you the ratings basically from analysts. You can see 13 strong buys, 16 holds, and the price right now is basically they're expecting the price to be average price of 163. That's about 10% upside from where we are right now. The next one we're looking at is Texas Instrument. Again, these companies done really well, both top line, bottom line beat, and they kind of reaffirmed basically what we were expecting when it comes to the rest of the year. And just looking at the graphs here, year over year was down and about 13.8%. Year over year when it comes to embedded systems. So that's the analog, this is the embedded processing, so almost a 22% down year over year. And when it comes to other, we've got 32%, and I think this was already baked in. I think this stock is been down quite a bit. So if we go back here and have a look at, not Tesla, if we look at Texas Instrument and have a look at where they are year to date, as you can just 2% up. Whereas if you look at the rest of the semis, they are up 40-50%. And the reason it was down is because of this expectation, the fact that they were expecting the stock to, basically the company to not to do as well as they were, they wanted them to do. Earnings side of things, if we look at this, you can see 25%, almost 26% decline, and that's basically what we've seen. That was baked into the stock already. 26% growth for next year in 2025, 18% after that, 23% after that, which is quite nice to see in terms of EPS. In terms of revenue, 10% decline this year, then 14% bounce back, 11%, and then 11% after that, 8%. So if you're thinking about, if you're a long-term investor, when you see this, you're like, okay, for me, I would say this is a year where I would actually buy more of this company. And then, of course, that basically I wouldn't have to worry about anything for going forward for the next at least 5 to 10 years. And again, this is just the estimate. So again, please be mindful of that. The next one you've seen already is Tesla. Tesla reported. And one of the things I just want to mention is the stock went up crazy, okay, and a lot of that was to do with the fact that Elon Musk did an absolutely amazing job in basically telling us what we wanted to hear. And one thing the analysts were looking for, it wasn't the fact that they're going to beat top line, bottom line, or anything like that. They've actually reported the report was not great at all. They missed top line, bottom line. Cash is actually declining. Also, things are happening with the company. But now one thing he said is moving forward, we're going to make cars that are a bit more affordable. And that's what was expected from him to basically analyze. That's what they were looking for. And just because of that, I think it went up quite a lot, 10% or whatever it was on the day. So it's interesting to see just by him talking about that, it was actually up almost 10-15%. I'm not complaining. It's actually a good thing, the fact that they've done so. Just if you look at this week, just this month is about down that much, but when you look at this week, 20%, almost to 21% just this week. And it looks like today, before the market has not opened yet, so it looks like it's going to gain another 1%, which is good to see. Now in terms of moving forward, so the dust they kind of have now kind of settled. So if we look at the earnings expectations moving forward, this year they're expecting a decline, but the next year 40%, 23%, and then 21%. So we will see how many are basically, if you can see, look, nobody is actually saying the company in terms of revenue side of it, nobody is saying it's basically revising what they've initially said. But look at how many down revisions that we see. 33 analysts are saying that. But now in terms of revenue side of things, okay, about 2% up, then 21%, 15%, 13%, 22%. So looking forward basically for the next 5 to 10 years, this company has absolutely no issues. I don't think it would have any problems basically hitting those targets, if not higher, the way things are going with the company. And one of the fastest growing companies in the world. And it's, of course, there might be a situation where EVs are not as attractive as they were. And one of the main reasons people are not really purchasing these EV cars right now is because the interest rates are very high. So who's going to go to the bank and borrow money for 5-10% just to buy a Tesla? Then no one's going to do that. So if the economy changes, the interest rates come down, okay, the macroeconomic situation changes. And of course, like things like where, the way we were in 2018, 19, 20, 2021 and so on, just, all of those years, I think this company will definitely start seeing basically the revenue side of it start seeing growing and so on. And again, China is a big factor for them, and they still have a market there. They share the market with, of course, some of the Chinese EV cars and so on. So it will be interesting to see moving forward. Final company I want to talk about is this one here. This is one of the companies that I own, Msci, and I'm so happy that they've actually reported not so great earnings, because it was getting to that point where it was a little bit overvalued and I really needed to buy more of this company. So they've reported they missed out revenue side of it. They beat top line, but the revenue was not great. And so one of the things I want to do now quickly is just to see where the company is at moving forward in terms of, it's been a few days since they've reported. So I just want to see what the analyst actually saying about this company. So as you can see, it's about 6 here, 8 up, and EPS is more or less the same. So if we look at the expectations moving forward for this company, almost a 9% in 2024, which is absolutely wonderful. And then you've got double digits 2025, double digits in 2026. I have no issues with this company, and I like the fact that they've actually reported not so great. And look at this, you're almost 12% in terms of revenue side of things. In terms of 2025, we're looking at again almost double digits, and then almost 9% in the following year. Now, if we look at the ratings, as you can see here, Wall Street is actually saying it's a strong buy, 4 strong buys, 4 buys, 7 holds, 2 sells, and 1 strong sell. Now if you look at the moving forward, so it's about 17-18% upside from where we are now, for $546 per share is basically where they think the price should be. So I absolutely have no issues with the company. I really like the business, and I've been thinking about, of course, adding to it, and that's exactly what I've done yesterday. So I just bought a little bit of it yesterday. I think it was half a share or fractional share. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is actually buy the other half. I'm going to continue buy a bit more. I'm down about 13%, which is quite nice. In fact, if we go back, what you will notice is, if we go back and have a look at the company again, just this week, okay, is down to almost 10%, which is quite nice. For the 1 month is down 15%, and the last 6 months only 3%. But year to date is about 17, almost 18%. But when you look at for the 1 year, it's also again is down. So I am happy to accumulate more shares with this company while it's still down, because I do think this is one of the basically these companies have actually monopolized those markets, and they are absolutely wonderful businesses to own, because you will not see many companies that have in the last 5 years that return over basically 100%. And when you compare it with the S&P 500, over the last 5 years, if you look at the total return, 117%, almost 118% in comparison to 72% for the last 5 years. And when you look at the last 10 years, 1,160% total return in comparison to 1,168 by the S&P 500. So I'm not saying the company is going to do this again, of course, every single year, but I really like the business. I like the business model. I like how easy, how predictable their business is, and how many, they recur in that revenue side of things. I like that. So I'm going to buy the other half of the share. So, okay, and send that to the market. So when basically the market opens, that should be executed, InshaAllah. Go away. I'm not going to do that. There we go. So there you have it. So that's the company that basically I just wanted to add to this one today, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I've got a few more videos planned this week. Last week I couldn't do much because there was so many things going on after work, so I did not have the chance to be able to do anything. So I will do that. And in fact, last one that basically we're going to talk about, that's AstraZeneca, and this company has reported the earnings, and as you can see here, they've reported on Thursday. They've reported $2.06 per diluted share, up 7% from a year earlier, which is quite nice to see. Analysts basically were expecting basically $1.93, so they've beaten that completely. Revenue for the quarter ended March 2020, March 31 was $12.68 billion, up from basically $10.88 billion a year on. So they've done absolutely wonderful. And guess what happened since then? This is how quick things can easily change. I was in the red not long ago, and right now, as you can see here, I'm up almost at 10% or almost a 400 something. So I'm going to leave it alone now. I think I've bought enough shares of this company. 40 shares right now is get to that 5%, almost to 5%, I think, of overall portfolio. There we go, almost there. So I'm going to leave it alone now and look at other companies like Msci, for example, to build a bit more position in here. And I don't know if you've noticed something about this, what I'm trying to do here, but I've been buying some of these companies. For example, automatic data processing, I've been buying for quite some time. Once it gets to 5%, I'll leave it alone and look for other companies that I can buy. So I've been doing with I can't even talk. I've been doing this basically for every single company that I own, apart from the ones that get away from me. For example, ExxonMobil has just gone up so much now, almost to 20% up. So I'm going to leave it alone. This one I'm going to leave it alone as well. It's gone up to the levels that I wanted. I've done the same with Home Depot and others. So I will continue looking at the portfolio, and I'll let you know, inshallah, what I'm buying, what I'm selling on a weekly basis. As always, if you want to join us in the Patreon account, that will be absolutely wonderful. That definitely helps the channel. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu Alaikum.